want a ticket straight to them pearly gates.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, we just seen one of the best displays of Bryan Ferry gameplay, and it did not come from the great knee. What came as a shock to the entire player base is that Atif picked up Bryan Ferry. First off, he put down Ana. Then he picked up Bryan Ferry and he slayed the competition. When he first locked it in, because we were watching it live on stream, we were like, hold on a second. And then it's the name switch. We see Ana, we see Bryan Ferry, we see Atif. They got to switch the names. I literally watched the first 2 rounds waiting for the names to switch, and it never did. Bro was just straight up cooking, flaming with Bryan Ferry. And this is the thing, right? Of course, you have the rivalry that we all talked about between Nee and Arsenal and Ash. These two had a huge debate about which character is the #1. Even though the whole top 10 in this game needs to be gutted, and even you could talk about the top 20, every character in this game is OP in one way or another. But they were arguing about which character's #1. I personally think it's Ana. I don't think Bryan Ferry is too far behind her. But Ana just represents everything that's wrong about Tekken 8, not only on a competitive level, but a casual level. Bryan Ferry, in my opinion, isn't as dominating as Ana is on a casual level, so that's why I would place her as the true #1. But that whole rivalry between Nee and Arslan got really crazy, and Nee at one point in time challenged Arslan and Ash to a 1st to 10, and it was like, since you know so much about Bryan Ferry, you play Bryan and I'll play Nina, and let's see who wins. Now, of course, everyone was oohing and ahhing at that challenge from Nee. Honestly, at the time, I never seen, a Pakistani besides like Bilal or something use Bryan Ferry and do great work. So I was thinking like Nee might have him checkmate. Now, we still don't know whether or not Arslan could play Bryan Ferry himself. But the reason he may feel the way he do about Bryan is because he might have been fighting Atif. Atif was doing so much stuff and making it look easy. Not only easy, but he was trolling Roth, which is one of the best Jin mains on the planet, and he was treating him like a red rank. Like, envision in your mind a God of Destruction player playing against a red rank. That's like what Atif was doing. He wasn't even like trying to do optimal setups, and like he wasn't trying to do like max damage this and perfect setups that. He was just like spamming taunt setups at one point. Never before have I seen a pro player troll another pro player on a pocket pick just because. We were watching this as if we were watching like some little kid get bullied. People were like, why is he doing this? What happened? Why is he... It was worse than him playing Ana. When he plays Ana, he's precise, he's killer, he's cutthroat, he's brutal. But seeing Atif troll with such perfection and use all of these abilities is crazy. He was really highlighting why the Pakistani players and everyone who agrees that Bryan is #1 says that Bryan is #1. Now, a big portion of this debate revolves around the taunt and how powerful it is. The chat, they were saying that Atif is basically just abusing the taunt. The reason why they were saying that is because in Tekken 8 you have a worse backdash, and as such you can't get away from some of these taunt setups. It's more easier to use in a neutral. One of my most frustrating things in the game about Bryan Ferry is his ability to do taunt heat smashes. Now, during the match there was a couple of times when Atif was going for those taunt heat smashes, and the taunt would land, but the heat smash would whiff because the distance in between. But I don't know, and I'm just bringing this up because this is what people were saying, right? But I don't know how true that is about the taunt being broken because backdash is decreased. I'll let the Bryan Ferry mains and all the people who's really good at the game really get into the details of that. Because if you do believe that, then how do you think the game should be balanced? How do they address that? How do you nerf the taunt? Of course, don't allow him to do taunt heat smash. That's super cheap. But then what else do you do to the taunt? Because a lot of his setups there is kind of crazy, and this isn't just Bryan Ferry. A lot of characters in this game are doing things that they should not be able to do. But the point is that the Pakistani players feel like Bryan Ferry is the character who truly highlights that. And I mean, to be fair, the first time that one of them, Arslan or Atif picks up a Bryan, they put on the most incredible display that we have seen all year. I mean, it makes sense why they feel the way that they feel, and I can't knock them no longer. stronger. You know, when Atif did what he did, when he bodied the competition, it sent shockwaves across Twitter. I just have a couple of tweets here bookmarked. This person says, okay, maybe Atif is just number one. Not the character, but just Atif. I mean, to be fair, the way he was cranking out those taunt setups, you know, taunt jet upper, I think he definitely proved to the world that he's not carried. Because here's the thing, a lot of players think for whatever reason that the Pakistani players are carried, but that is not the case, bro. If you've seen what they did in Tekken 7 with all of the different characters they played, like you even had in this same event, Pakistani players using Jack, using Harang, using this, using multiple different characters, right? Even Atif picked a different character, right? They have shown that they could play many different characters and the results will be the same. So assuming that they're carried is ridiculous. Now you could call them tier chasers and stuff like that, but no way are we saying they're carried, right? I think we should be beyond that point. If they are carried, then why don't other people do what they're doing and then win 6 evos as well? If it's that easy, then everyone should be winning 6 evos, right? Kakoma says, amazing Atif every time. Whatever that symbol is, Bryan thumbs down. Phantom says, Team Saudi was winning, but Atif played top 1 character. Not fair, this person's trolling. Okay, I need some Bryan mains to weigh in here. How good is Atif's Bryan? How hard is it to land taunt upper against a real opponent? Ty says, well, his Bryan is really good. He's one of the best Bryans in the world, in my opinion. Some of the best execution. Keep in mind, though, this is not just he picked up Bryan, like people saying. He always played the whole cast. And this is something that even the commentators were saying, is how Atif is known for being a Mokujin. A Mokujin is basically someone who plays every character, right? So this is the thing as well when you say, and I mean, it makes sense, right? The way that these guys meticulously break down other people's gameplay and they just defeat people, like they just have a deeper understanding about every character, and also their ability to switch is incredible. I mean, when we see a big balance happen, we can see the pros talking about different characters. We can see them talk about Dragunov, Kuma, Yoshi, Anna, Bryan. We can see the different characters that they're tinkering with just from following their tweets. Fergus says, while we're getting hype at Atif's taunt jet uppers, let's not forget that the fact that the taunt is insanely dumb mechanic that only made more accessible and frequent in this game. Joka says Atif is on another level. Farzine says, what is Atif doing? And then lastly, Arsalan Ash says, Atif is the best Bryan in the world. Not one of the best, the best. And of course, we all know need to be one of the best Bryan Furies. You also have Lohai, you also have Bilal. But I mean, at this point in time, I would love to see a mirror match between, all of them. Moments like this makes the EWC seems more exciting and more interesting. Atif even said himself,
That's a long answer. He's saying that he's playing Bryan recently, but he didn't had played in a tournament. So he just wanted to check the Bryan in tournament. Also, he wants to main the Bryan after EWC, so that's why he picked the Bryan.